Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Brand Power Analysis. Today I have on, pronounce your name for everyone so everyone knows who you are.
Adrian Boycell.
Adrian. Well, it's nice to meet you. Like we were talking before the podcast, you and I kind of met through LinkedIn, following one of your communities for a while now. And, I watched some of your YouTube videos and congratulations on getting that to where you got it. There's a lot of grit and I love to hear some of your pivotal point in that growth throughout this episode. I myself am on the 3,000 subscribers myself, and during a pivotal point of trying to, like they say, once you reach that monetization status, that's when the real fun begins. And so I'm excited to hear a little bit about that from your side. Why don't you tell a little bit, everyone, like what you do, where you're from, and all that fun stuff?
Yeah, so Adrian Boycell. I'm from Sacramento, California, Northern California. Kind of a country boy, laid back, real chill, love to camp, shoot, fish, do all that fun stuff, snow camping, wheeling. Grew up riding dirt bikes, rode a dirt bike before I rode a bicycle. That's why I wear my Fox gear. I love to ride. I love to be outdoors and be in nature, and that's what makes me super happy. And I grew up in a really broken home. That's kind of a big part of my story is didn't meet my mom until I was 17. My dad and my mom split when I was just a baby. My grandmother raised me until my gramps passed away right in front of me because of alcohol, had a heart attack and died. Lifelong alcoholic, but was a huge, very fatherly figure to me. And that was kind of my awakening to the world at 4 years old. And he was an entrepreneur. My dad was an entrepreneur. And naturally, I've been an entrepreneur now since 17 years old. I went full time at 19. So I had a little side hustle doing nightlife entertainment and productions. At 17, that's where I met my first legit business mentor. And then at 19, he was like, dude, you got to go all in on yourself, man. This is your gift, dude. You're so good at graphics. So started as a graphic designer and started stacking skills. It's one of the kind of terms that I've been really pushing, been buying domain names, and I'm in the process of trademarking is skill stacker. So I want people to change their mentality of like, okay, I just need to learn this one skill and then I'll be able to make money. And at least that's kind of how it started for me. I was like, oh, if I just learn how to do graphic design really well, then at least I won't have to work for anybody else. That was my only mission, was just not to work for anybody else, not have to take orders, not have to clock in, not have to put a uniform on. I just didn't want to be owned by anybody else. And that's because my biggest value is freedom. Because of my childhood, I was grounded most of my life. Because of my dad, I was restricted from everything. Didn't get to really experience a lot of the things that most kids get to. I rode dirt bikes with my cousins and did the outdoor stuff. But when I was with my parents, my stepmom and my dad, I was basically trapped in my room. So I drew all day. And that was me as an artist and as a kid. So once I became an adult, it was like, cool, I just don't want to work for anybody. I want to be free. I want to do my thing. But I got the opportunity to sell cars, did home loans. And then when the economy crashed, that's when I went full in on myself. I was like, I'm never putting my income in the hands of anybody else. So first skill I learned on top of doing graphic design was doing printing. On top of printing, then I learned how to do signage, like vehicle graphics, stickers, decals, vehicle wraps, storefront windows, all that fun stuff. Then from there, I brought in a web designer and I learned how to do SEO, and I learned how to do web design, and I learned how to do copywriting. Started taking courses, started surrounding myself with some pretty incredible people. I bought into a big course some people might know called Job Killing. Learned how to do the rank and rent model of building websites, ranking them, and then renting them out to business owners where they were getting leads. Had a lot of fun and got success in doing that, learned that framework. Got really into, in 2011, got into doing Google advertising. Moved to Chicago after I sold my first company, learned how to do Google ads inside out and backwards. And I was like, between SEO and ads and web design and graphics, what else could I not do? And to back it up just a little bit, I learned how to do video production in high school, old school video production. They called it linear editing. So I also had video production as another skill, and then being able to work in the car business, I had sales skills. So there was kind of limitless potential for what I could do, but I was all over the place, doing all these different things. So I was a consultant, moved into the home services space, doing advertising, Yellow Page ads, Yelp ads, Google ads, websites, SEO. I did everything for this company. I was able to help them scale from 800 grand to 22 million in just over 2 years. My mentor, that first one that told me to go all in on myself, was the sales side of the business, and I was the marketing side. I literally did everything from their storefront to their vehicle graphics, yard signs, door hangers, you name it. It had my design, my signature and fingerprint on it. So I got kind of bored and complacent because I was only working 20 hours a week for them as a consultant, making six figures, well over 6 figures a year. My little brother came to me, who was much younger than me, and said, hey, we should open up an agency together. You're really good at this stuff. I can help you run the operations. And I'm like, let's do it. That was 2015. And little did we know what we had in store for us, trying to scale the unscalable. And he ended up leaving, starting his own business, did extremely well with that, left, started another business, and is doing extremely well with that. And that was his calling. It wasn't for us to partner together. And so there were some challenges that happened there between brothers because we never even fought as kids. But, going our separate ways was really hard. And so I had to learn, and I almost walked away from the whole agency thing. And then I bumped into my old friend I had been friends with for over a decade, Amanda, who was like, I will take over the operations. Give it to me. And I'm like, okay, I just want to go out there and sell and speak. And at that time, I had just started a radio show on an FM station here in Sacramento, and that was taking off and doing really well. And then I launched it as a podcast. And then, I was just like, I got to get on stage. And so I started getting on stages and speaking. And that's kind of the long story of my journey. But, now I've been able to speak all over the country, not out of the world yet. That's kind of the next step for me, but working on a book, and my agency is doing well. We're developing some different softwares. But what I do on a day-to-day basis nowadays with where the agency is at is I do consulting, brand consulting, marketing consulting. So I come up and help people develop their purpose-driven brands and their purpose-driven marketing plans. And that's where I spend 80% of my day is doing consulting sessions back to back to back, either in person or over Zoom, and just helping people get breakthrough in their sales, marketing, and branding.
That's a lot. You have a really deep story there, and there's probably way more to it. I'd like to take a step back. I like to take a step back because you probably don't know this about me because you don't know much about me. I had a very similar situation when I turned 18. I found out my dad wasn't my real dad, and I've never met him personally, but that's because I chose to not put myself in that situation. And the reason I bring that up is because your drive. I think that how did those impacts and those traumas and life experiences really help you to build the agency the way you want it now?
I've never been asked this question in that way, and it opens up a different door that I love in this conversation because it allows me to come from a perspective that I think is really important for entrepreneurs and business owners to hear, is like all of the trauma that I went through from growing up in a physically, verbally, emotionally abusive household. I was going to add another one in there, but for the sake of this interview, I won't. Every kind of abuse you can think of, I experienced, and trauma from my grandfather dying to all the things that I went through, being homeless multiple times as a kid. And that created a fire in me that, like, if I'm still here, there's got to be a reason. I believe in God. I know that I'm put here for a reason and for a purpose. I'm not here by accident. This wasn't just some fluke that I just ended up here. And so there's a reason for it. I don't know what that reason is, but I just know deep down in my heart that there's a reason why I was put on this earth. And I know it's to do something great. That's all I know. I don't know what that is. I just know it's to do something great. And because of my trauma, I became they say like Grant Cardone, be obsessed or be average, right? I was obsessed. I thought my path was to be an entrepreneur and to be the best entrepreneur I could possibly be, to impact as many people as I possibly could. And I was not going to let anyone or anything, relationships, girlfriends, friends, no one get in the way of that. And so I was laser focused and driven no matter what to find success as a business owner. And every time I made a mistake, it was devastating for me. And I think the reason why I am where I am today is because of how many mistakes I made. When I worked jobs, I was always the screw up in the jobs. That's why part of why I didn't want to work for anybody, because I could never work anywhere without making mistakes all the time and getting in trouble. So I was like, I just knew I'm a screw up. And so as a business owner, only person I answer to is myself and obviously to my clients. But so all the mistakes I made, I just had to learn from those. I took them really hard on myself. I'm very hard on myself, and I'm not like I used to be. But I was very hard on myself, and I was in survival mode my entire entrepreneurial journey until about 5 years ago. It wasn't until 5 years ago when I got married to my wife now. Actually, next week will be 5 years we've been married.
Congratulations.
Thank you. She completely 180'd my whole perception and like made me see how much I was actually living in survival mode. From my previous marriage to all my relationships in the past, I was operating from a place of lack, a place of abundance, a place of fear, a place of control, trying to control outcomes, trying to control people, trying to get my way, and making decisions very hastily to like move my printing location to a bigger location rather than just keeping both locations open. Right? I made very quick decisions because I thought that's what I had to do, and I made a lot of mistakes, and it cost me a lot of time and a lot of energy and set me back a lot. So now I'm looking at my life in the last 5 years and I'm going, okay, I no longer operate from this place of survival mentality. I'm going from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic, the rest and digest, and really understanding who I am, what I'm made of, what I'm not, what are the areas that I'm struggling in, what am I using for coping mechanisms. I've given up cannabis, I've given up caffeine, I've given up everything. I've never been a drinker, so that was never a challenge for me, but there's been other things in my life that have challenged me. And so removing all of these obstacles out of my path, doing Wim Hof breath work, doing ice baths, cold plunging, like all the different things I could possibly do to remove any roadblock from my path so that I could live in this place of thriving versus surviving. And so that's kind of where I'm at today, is like I've done so much healing, subscribed to BetterHelp for the last 2 years. I had counselors and coaches before that and therapists, like anything you can do. There's no shame in seeking out help from therapists or counselors, psychologists. Like anything you can do to remove that friction from your pathway, do it. It's worth every single cent that you put towards that. And so a lot of people feel shame, like there's something wrong with them. There's something wrong with every person. We're all broken. We're all humans. None of us are perfect. So just getting over that, getting out of your own way, letting go of your ego, and taking that next step is a really powerful thing. And that's what I've been able to do. And that journey may have started 5 years ago, but I'm at the very beginning. I got the rest of my life, and it doesn't end.
It's funny because you kind of answered two questions I was going to ask. One of those questions, like, what was that turning point for you? Because I think that you have a similar mentality as me. Is I don't necessarily call myself an expert. I call myself I'm studying,
right.
Because things change, It wasn't until, funny enough, I had my children that I got married, my wife, of course, helped, but, until I had my children where I really started to look at that. And the reason I bring this up is because I think, like you said, there's something that a lot of people don't touch on with business owners. That is the mentality and the ability to move forward, because you go to a friend, for instance, and you say, oh, hey, I have $1 million business. I have a $2 million business, even a $500,000 or, $300,000 business. You still have your friends look at you and go, oh, you make, $300,000 a year, you should be good to go. And you're like, you can't account for expenses, you can't account for employees, you can't account for the 80 million different types of advertising that I've done that aren't working.
Yeah.
Taxes. And so you said about 5 years ago you had a shift. And what really caught me there was you brought up, correct me if I'm wrong, you said the scarcity mindset. I noticed in myself that I had a very similar perspective. I was grinding, I was pushing, I was always trying to achieve a success that had no end. And it wasn't until I sat down and realized, hey, I can no longer run my business off of this fear of trying to prove myself from those traumas that happened in my past, but from what does success look like to me now? You've done all these things. And so can you elaborate just so that the guests and the viewers can kind of get an understanding of how you continue to work on that ability to find yourself, find success, and grow yourself, and be able to have perseverance to continue to grow what you're trying to grow?
I love this. The interesting part about this is that once I was able to heal and get out of that survival mentality, the first thing that happened is that drive, that ambition, and that motivation that I had to just gotta go, 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 right? That energy that I had disappeared. And I found myself not wanting to wake up in the morning and not get out of bed. I'm like, okay, well, what's the point? Everything's going to work out the way it's supposed to work out. I'm going to be good either way. So I'm just like, ah. And I went from one end of the spectrum to completely the opposite end of the spectrum. And I'm like, all right, this isn't working either. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I started putting myself in very uncomfortable situations with speaking and, podcasting and getting on stages and all that, but also doing things physically, working out in ways that I'd never worked out, doing the ice baths. You do an ice bath every day, you're growing every single day. There's no doubt about that. You do a cold shower every day, you're growing every single day. If you are listening to this podcast or this show and you're telling yourself there's no way I'm doing it, that means you need to do it. Yeah. That's the reason. That fear or whatever that is in your brain that's telling you that you shouldn't do it, or it's bad to do it, or it's dumb to do it, or you're crazy for doing it, is exactly why you should do it. It's that fear that you have to walk away from, because that fear is what's holding you back and it's killing you. If you're not growing, you're dying. There's no in between. There's no gray area there. So for me, I had to go from this place of okay, so I'm dying, to, okay, I'm thriving and I'm just going to chill and relax and enjoy the rest of my life and la-di-da. And I spent a lot of time also looking to my past. There was a lot of deep introspection in this last season. And you can't live in the past. And as the driver, you're always looking towards the future. The most important thing that I have, the most precious thing that I own right now is this very moment. This moment on this podcast, every word that leaves my mouth, every sentence I get to speak, every piece of my heart that I get to share, I'm consciously creating as I speak. My energies, my emotions, my thoughts, right? These thoughts become things. And the influence that I hope that this podcast and the people that this reaches, if it reaches one person, or if it even just connects with you, Zach, and gives you one shift, then that makes everything worth it, because the spider web and what's going to happen, the ripple effect from that, to me, is so powerful. So I live in this conscious moment of the now, of the right now. Every second that passes is like artwork. what I'm wearing, the orange headphones on my orange shirt. Like, this will never exist in time again. And an hour from now, the moment that we have right here will never happen again in all of eternity. That is powerful. And to be able to be rooted in that and that level of mindfulness and awareness of your present moment and how you could be consciously creating, like, what are you doing right now? You're listening to a podcast to try to unlock or a show to unlock breakthroughs in your area. There's a reason. There's a need that you have in your life that you know that you came to this podcast for a reason. That isn't by accident. None of this happens by accident. We have a grand architect, whether you want to believe it or not. This world was architected. By who? That's up to you to decide and to find and to seek. And for me, it's Jesus, it's God, right? And so being able to know that you have been created with a purpose and a mission and a plan. If you take a business and you wrap it around what those are, they say the best days of your life are the day that you're born and the day you find out why. About 4 years ago, I met with a friend of mine, Brandon, who's a church friend of mine, and he sat with me and he did this 1-3-5-7 process. I don't remember how he did it. He asked me one question, then two questions, and then three questions. And then by the time he got done with it, he's like, all right, let me read this back to you. And he's like, it sounds like you want to help at-risk youth and restore broken families. And the moment those words entered his mouth or left his mouth, I like literally just started sobbing in the middle of a restaurant. Like, I grew up with the dad who was like, you cry, I'll give you a reason to cry, right? Like, we didn't cry, right? And so I've let go of that over the last decade, but it's not like me to just cry in the middle of a restaurant. Like, it was uncontrollable moment. It was an undeniable presence of God that was like, this is why I put you here, is to help at-risk youth and restore broken families. And every day since, that has been my mission. Every single day I wake up is, how am I helping the youth? How am I helping restore broken families? Well, I had to restore my own broken family first and understand what that was like. And now I'm going out teaching on YouTube, teaching everywhere I can to youth. So being able to understand what your purpose is, why are you putting on this planet, and use that as your platform for your business is the secret sauce.
The way you said that is perfect. And I love that you were able to find your purpose. I mean, I feel like if you were to go back before your pivotal moment 5 years ago, and let's not, and just so everyone knows, your pivotal moment you can have those multiple times in your life as you evolve. But as you went back before that and you were still in that fear mentality, what did you think of those channels that talked about mindset and growth and all that fun stuff?
I can even admit, I was sitting with my wife 5 years ago and I was crazy into business growth. Like, I was just obsessed with business growth. And she's like, I was listening to something that was like a personal growth talk on something. And I was like, all this personal growth stuff. She's like, well, you're not into personal growth? And I was like, no, I think that's a bunch of BS. Tony Robbins and all this stuff, I think it's a bunch of BS. And she's like, that's really weird. You're into business growth, you're not into personal growth. And then when I met my mentor that I co-founded Tag Talks with, Raul, he was like, Adrian, 90% of your business problems are personal problems. And I started thinking about that. And then I was like having some challenges with my wife personally around communication. And I went and saw a counselor, and he was like, what about if you tried this with her? And what if you communicated with that with her? And what about when she's angry at you or she's short because of something she's dealing with, instead of like retracting and putting your walls up and shutting down on her, what if you just like reached over and touched her on her hand and say, hey, I'm not trying to hurt you. I want to be here for you. How can I be here for you? Just like the simplest thing like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, right? And so it started like kind of a snowball effect of like, I could get better in my communication. I can get better in the way I'm leading my family. So all my personal life had been struggling, and I'd seen these patterns in other relationships in my life. And I started going like this to all the people in my business and in my personal life. I started going like this. And then I started getting hungry. I'm like, okay, starting to see some patterns in my life of things that are holding me back, coping mechanisms, things. I think there's something to this personal growth. And so that was 5 years ago. And now I think personal growth is even more important than business growth, because if you focus on the personal side first, and then you go try to build a business, I was doing it backward. I was trying to build the business first and then work on my personal. I'll focus on that later when I got the money and the success to spend my time on that. I thought it was a waste of my time.
There's a fine line there. I mean, I think that they both coincide, and it happens at different points for everyone. But I mean, I hear plenty of business owners, and I've talked to plenty of business owners that are making 20 million a year, 30 million a year or more, and they're working 20, I'm not exaggerating, but like 18 hours a day, miserable. And then there's that other side. And, part of my fear mentality was, my parents weren't great with money, and so I did the exact opposite of what most people do. And I just saved. I just hoarded. And so I had to find, I had that same kind of perspective you did. I was, growing and something wasn't working. And I said, I guess I have to grind more in the business. And I turned around and I started basically getting my profit shares down to about 4 or 5%. And I was like, okay, now I'm not making any money and I'm bored.
Yeah.
And so it happens different for everyone. But I think the takeaway here is work on yourself. I mean, it works so, I mean, I'm the same as you. I do it every day. The gym is my zen place. I go there more to have personal time and allow it. And then family time, like spend, time stacking is not just about, setting your business. It's about setting your personal time as well. And it's okay if you're going to still be hard on yourself, because I think that's something that you have to learn and you continue to put into your head that it's okay. Back to what you were saying, let's get back to, I want to talk about your YouTube channel a little bit here. So, and I think it goes to our main purpose of this podcast. What does it mean to have a purpose-driven brand? And I think you can probably find correlations in the evolution of you and your brand, as well as the way you talk, the way you speak, the way you're authentic to your personal development. And so what does it mean when it comes to your YouTube channel? Can you, to help give some of the viewers a little bit of insight on why it's great to go off of a purpose, some key points of failure that you may have had that, if you feel comfortable sharing, that put you in a spot as you were growing your personal brand that made you want to burn out or stop? And how did you overcome those spots?
The first thing I can say at this point that hopefully will give people some reassurance that are on YouTube or considering YouTube is I'm 3.5 years in. I still haven't figured it out. Yeah, 17,000 subscribers on one channel, 17,000 on another channel. I still haven't figured it out. And that's totally okay. You don't have to have it all figured out. Progress over perfection, right? If I had stopped 6 months in or a year in before I got to 1,000 subscribers, like, where would I be today? It's shaped who I am. It's helped me become a better communicator, a better speaker, a better presenter, a better consultant, a better friend, a better leader, better community builder. I've learned things about myself that I couldn't have learned without doing this and pushing myself over and over and over again. It's led me to technology discoveries with AI and things that I'm doing today. And it's led me to getting on shows like this. I mean, this wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have been able to have this conversation with you right now if it hadn't been for YouTube. So the doors that it's opened for me, if you're a business owner, you have a responsibility to get your butt on YouTube. Like, there's no other way to, I don't care if you're an introvert, you can do a faceless YouTube channel. Get on Loom, turn your camera off, record your screen, and freaking show people what you do. It's as simple as that. There is no excuse nowadays to not be on YouTube. If you're a business owner, the traffic that's there is 1/10 of what the traffic is going to be in another decade from now. It's still new. You're still early. People think, oh, YouTube's played out. There's too much competition. If you're buying into that lack, scarcity, survival mentality, it's not true. That's a lie. That's what your competitors want you to think, that it's too late, that you missed the boat. Sure, if you gotten in at 2012, 2014, like some of these people like Chris Do and some of these other channels had gotten in, Peter McKinnon, right? If you'd gotten in at those times, they hit the wave at the right time. But the wave hasn't even, we're just hitting the first wave. There's still more waves coming. YouTube Shorts, more community, direct messages. Like, I know stuff that's coming down the pipeline with YouTube that people have no clue. With podcasts on YouTube, like things that are coming on YouTube is going to be huge. And so it's the number 2 spending for advertising dollars worldwide, next to Hulu. It goes Hulu and then YouTube for advertising. Advertisers are spending more money on YouTube than anywhere else other than Hulu. So if you think about that, that's a really, really big opportunity to build your personal brand. When I first started, I started with, okay, I'm going to talk about marketing stuff and digital marketing and maybe some graphic design tutorials. And I just kind of put some stuff out there just to kind of see what would work, and just consistently got progress. And then I wasn't really feeling like I got anywhere. So I went and found a consultant that was consulting like high level people like Kanye and some really big names, Beyonce, like doing some really high level consulting for YouTube. And he was like, dude, your graphic design content's doing the best. And I was like, wow, that makes sense. That's where I started. It's where I have the most experience. I guess I'll just double down on graphic design content. Started making graphic design videos, started picking up momentum. My channel grew by 400% in 30 days, a little over that. And I was like, whoa, went from like 75 subscribers in a month to like 2,200 subscribers in a month. And I was like, wow, all right, so that worked. And he was like, keep your lanes, like don't add more lanes to your highway, keep it focused, like graphic design, don't add anything else until that lane is full and you've capitalized for everything you can on YouTube with graphic design. I'm like, all right, cool. Then I randomly one day, I ran out of video ideas and I needed to create a video, and I'm sitting here in my office, literally right behind me, I had my desk against the wall. This whole set wasn't here. And my guy's like, what are we going to do? And I'm like looking around, I like look at my phone, and then I'm like looking at my fancy mouse, and I'm like, okay, I got my MacBook. Okay. And then I got my tablet, and then I have my Wacom Cintiq, and I have my hard drives, and I have my earbuds, and there's 7 things. So I was like, well, I just do a design gadgets video. He's like, cool, let's do it. Hits the record button. I'm like, hey guys, if you want to be a great graphic designer, you got to have great tools. Like, I put zero thought into that video. Posted the video. It did nothing. Like, okay, whatever. Keep creating videos, right? The channel's still going. YouTube can see that I'm consistent. 3.5 months later, I wake up one morning and it was like, you have 190 new subscribers today. And I'm like, what the heck? And then the next day, I look at the video and I'm like, this video was like, it has 4,000 views. Then like an hour later, 9,000 views. Then like the next day later, 27,000 views. And then all of a sudden 80,000 views. And then 120. Over like the course of like 2 weeks, it went from like nothing, like 500 views, all the way up to like 250,000 views in a matter of like a week or two. And it just exploded. And I was like, holy moly. So I called my buddy up. I'm like, dude, look. And he's like, congratulations. He's like, make more content around that. And I'm like, okay. So I started making monitor videos. And after like my 6th or 7th video, I got to the point where I was like, dude, I hate this. Like, I do not enjoy making YouTube content anymore. Like, after only like 6 or 7 videos, I hate talking about tech. I hate talking about gadgets. This is not what I set out to do. And the people that are following me, I didn't realize until way after, but in hindsight, the people that were following me that were looking for gadget type content were like newbie, do-it-yourself, freelance, like maybe freelance. They were like brand new newbie graphic designers who didn't know anything from a hole in the ground. And I was like, okay, so now I'm building this audience and this tribe of people who like could care less about my marketing, could care less about my sales. So I chased the algorithm for like 6 months thinking that this was, oh, I'm going to be a freaking huge YouTuber. Ultimately to find out that it did nothing for me. Very little, very, very little for me other than inflating my ego, giving me some vanity metrics and making me feel better about myself. So since then, that was about 1.5 years ago, probably close to 2 years ago, I stopped doing that. I've done only 1 or 2 tech videos, gadget videos, things like that. And my YouTube channel has suffered significantly because I kind of gave YouTube the bird and said, I'm not going to do what you want me to do. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I've gone back to making the type of content that I want to make. But now, as of this week, I've shifted my focus again, just to have some changes in my life and changes in my company. I went through a really hard time last year personally because of a family crisis, but I made some changes to my YouTube channel and I'm going 5 days a week now. I'm not doing 2 days a week. I'm going 5 days a week. And I'm just going to flood the algorithm with so much content. They're going to have no choice but to promote me. I'm going to do a live every single week on Wednesdays. I'm going to be promoting like a 4 to 5 minute video. I'm going to do a longer, like 5 days a week. I have a video going out 5 days a week going forward. I have one being posted tonight at like 6:30. So I'm going to be posting content constantly and I will find the type of content that I want to make that the algorithm likes until they either give up on me and they're like, hey, we're just not going to show this stuff to anybody, or they start promoting me again because they've just it feels almost like I've been like ghosted, like what do they call shadow banned? It almost feels like that now at this point because I post a video and like I get like 70, 80 views, 90 views. I have people even on like a few different platforms like, dude, you don't even get any views on your videos. I'm like, dude, I got views of my videos of 5,000, 10,000, 30,000, 200,000. Like, sure, my videos over the last year haven't gotten very many views, but guess what? When we're talking in a year from now and I've got 10 videos that have done maybe 1 million, 500,000, 250,000 views, like, am I really worried about the 50 videos that only got 100, 200 views? Like, I really don't care because those 50 to 100 people that I set out to help are going to get the impact from it. This isn't about the vanity. This isn't about the metrics. This is about the impact, right? So just remaining true to myself, I think, is a really big part of YouTube that people get lost in. Is like, oh, it's not working. Oh, I'm not getting subscribers. Oh, I'm not getting views, and they give up. It's like, dude, if you get 1 view, like, how could you not consider that a success?
My biggest thing right now that gets me is when I finally have that, you have that comment or you have that person that finds you on IG or in your community that's like, hey, your videos are really helping you me out, man. I'm going through this. It's like, it hits your heart, and it really is like one of those things that keeps you going. And this was a great topic that you brought up because I think you got into SEO like I did. So you utilize techie side of your brain as well as the creative side. When I was going through my shift, which I still am, I've come to realize as I'm trying to become a better leader that I'm like, man, people that have a good techie, but also a good creative side, they battle. We look at numbers. We like to see stuff grow. We like to see what works. We like to build strategy. And then the creative side where it's like, oh, well, I just want to I want to, create stuff that's great. I want to see, I want my graphics to be impactful. I want it to hit the right audience, all that stuff. And it battles. And I think that part of that purpose in finding success, as you're right, is, and this goes back to anyone that's starting, it's that concept of vanity metrics are what you said. They're vanity. Who cares about the followers? Who cares about, how many people are going to get it? Who is that really helping? And it's interesting that you brought up the whole, because that goes to your techie side where you brought up the whole, oh, well, I realized that wasn't really the audience and I'm not passionate about it, that I want to bring mine. I want to hit it. And so just so everyone is aware, because you're seeing the same things that I am seeing from an actual person that's growing a YouTube channel, it's okay to have sustainable growth. It's actually pretty common for the good channels to have, depending on the amount of followers they have, subscribers, to get a certain amount of views, and you'll hit one really big, and that's when you kind of take something and move it along. So it's interesting that you brought that up, and I give you kudos for being at where you're at and still pushing towards finding what am I passionate about. Probably have gone through that multiple times. You're going through it again right now with the channel. I mean, I'm going through it again right now with the channel as well. We tried something last year and it seemed to work out. Gave it 3 months and I was already like, this isn't what I wanted. And so we're pivoting again. And I literally told you before the podcast, we're pivoting it again. We're going to try something else and we're going to go full-fledged with it with 4 or 5 videos a week ourselves. But I want to get into your agency side a little bit here because you have a lot of audience that will probably are going through, as I'm in your community as well. And I see a lot of starting graphic designers, developers, SEO specialists, the pros and cons of niching. I mean, so many people out there say niche. What I've tended to see, this is part of the creative and the technical side again, is, especially with you being an SEO, probably know very similar to me how targeting in SEO doesn't really work as well. And you said something earlier to me as well when it came to YouTube. You said, hey, just keep pushing at the graphic design stuff. Well, I know if I did that in SEO, yes, there's authority building and silos and all that fun stuff. You're going strictly towards cannibalization. So can you kind of give people a little bit of guidance on, you talk a lot about stacking skills. And so talk to me a little bit about how you felt with the business side, your growth pain points in the business, those challenges, because you did bring up something that was very intriguing to me. And that was the premise of you're going to grow the impossible, growing a full service, scalable, unscalable. I say the same thing because I'm a full service agency myself. So can you explain that a little bit? And going back to the niching thing, how you felt the kind of strategic and or unstrategic steps that you have taken in your path towards that?
The challenging part of being an agency owner in this marketplace is it's the race to the bottom, right? Unless you're doing consulting, right? Which then you're selling your time. Your time isn't scalable. Mm-hmm. So what I do with all my clients is I bring them in and I do the consulting piece first before I ever work with them on the agency side, because none of them have a marketing plan. None of them. They never do. Out of 5,000, I've had like 2 that had a marketing plan. And I've even had a couple people tell me, yeah, I got a marketing plan. And then I go to see their marketing plan and it's not a marketing plan. So I have to sell my time to them, right? Which isn't freedom. And it's also not scalable. And then I bring them in as an agency client. And then even though I have integrators on my team that are building the campaigns and doing the SEO and building the websites and creating, like, one of my lead designers and the graphic design side on my branding side is the lead designer for Lucky Brand, right? Like a major graphic designer that I hire out and contract with him and we do projects together. But I am still in the loop with every single one of those relationships. If I go out and speak on stage in the front of a room and I get 20 people that want to work with me and I get 5 of them that end up becoming clients, I'm never going to be free from those relationships ever. It's just not. It just doesn't. I built the relationship currency. I built the authority. I can hand them off to a rep. They'll be gone in 3 to 6 months, 12 months, maybe, right? Unless I can find somebody that's at my caliber to take them. So that's the flaw in that business model, is that you will always be that person that has to maintain and build and keep that relationship with that client. Unless you productize your offer and remove yourself out of the equation and run ads or do SEO or drive traffic and whatever you drive traffic to your landing page, and you get that landing page, you get to convert through just your authority of like you could sell it on a VSL, pre-selling mechanism. You can sell that content and sell that packaging, but you don't come along with that, right? You have to separate yourself. So now you have a product that you're the spokesperson for. And so until you become the spokesperson, and that's what I'm doing now, is I have an existing brand called leadbutler.io that we're rebranding right now as Lead Butler AI. And Lead Butler AI is an AI system that's lead generation, but kind of on steroids. And so I'm not going to be part of that brand whatsoever. I'll be in the videos. That's it. I'm a spokesperson for the brand, but outside of that, the first person they talk to, they'll never talk to me on the phone. Like, it's never going to happen. I'm not doing the consulting. I'm not doing anything with it. It goes over to my fulfillment team, and I'm doing strictly the visionary stuff for that brand. I own the business, but I don't even run the business. The business is ran by people who are very highly paid to go run that business. And that's what it takes nowadays. So along my journey was like, okay, first it was me trying to manage all the clients myself. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I don't have the project management brain. Like I can do the work, but I can't manage these projects. I need to get somebody else. So it was either my brother or other people that I had work for me over the years. And then it was my business partner, Amanda. So I've had other people that are integrators that are good at project management and managing those tasks. Well, I did the fulfillment. Then we got so busy that I was like, I can't do any more fulfillment. So we started subbing that out and I started training and teaching and finding people that were more talented than me. Then it was like, okay, well now I'm just responsible for selling, doing the finances and paying people and handling that side of the business. So I'm going to handle those things. And then as time went on, I'm not paying the people anymore. I have people paying them. And I was able to get a lot of these finances outsourced and started delegating more and more as I documented, but I've still been in the sales seat. And as I've tried to build my company and attract bigger and better clients, I've become more and more ingrained in the sales, and I haven't been able to escape that sales model. Like the 7 figures that came in 2022, every single dollar of that came from me. I'm the one that personally generated all of that, not anybody else. And I hired other salespeople in 2021 and 2019, 2020 to try to get myself out of that seat. And none of them were able to do it successfully because I didn't have a specific one core product that they could just go out there and sell over and over again. And that sales system wasn't set up. So that's the thing you need to do, is you need to build that sales infrastructure that doesn't have you involved at all. And until you're able to do that and take yourself completely out of the equation, you're going to be scaling the unscalable. And even with that, it's still a really challenging business to try to keep people long-term unless you find somebody that's a really high caliber salesperson. If I was Tom Bilyeu, right, and I had an agency and I was attracting all these clients, like they're going to stay with my agency because they know that they're dealing with Tom Bilyeu and they want that association. They want to be in proximity, even if they don't get to have that personal relationship. That's why people are buying into ClickFunnels, because it's not because of the name ClickFunnels or the software. It's because of Russell Brunson and what Russell Brunson has done with his personal brand. Personal brand is very powerful, but it can also be a trap because it's all on you. You can't have more than one you. You're only one you. Your story is unique. Like nobody else can go out there. I can't go out and tell your story as it's my story. That's not going to work. I can't tell it the way you can tell it. So it's just scaling the unscalable. So having a software as a service or service-based business that doesn't have you involved, I wish I would have known that a decade ago. I would have done things much differently.
Yeah, you do get to a point too. And I tell a lot of people that are just starting out when they're so stressed. I see so many designers and so many developers stressed. I don't know which direction to go. I don't know where to go here. And yeah, define your goals. What do you really want? What is your purpose? Now's the time to have fun with it, because you do get to a point. I'm in a similar boat you are, where it's can't go back now.
Yeah, I'm too deep.
And you get too deep and you're like, oh, like I can pivot, I can change, I can grow the brand. But so scaling the unscalable, yes. And, especially with the brand strategy side, because we do customized solutions as well. We have productized services and stuff like that. But people like you and me, we've learned all that stuff. You can't tell you unless a sales guy goes to school or you hire a creative director that can sell, they're not going to be able to sell the strategy. And the personal branding does help with making the sales easier and building that awareness. With where you're at right now, you're still doing the sales, but you've hired probably 4 or 5, you said, salespeople in the past. You're building a software right now and you're going to be promoting that. Is that where it seems like you're headed? Is that where it seems like you're trying to go?
I've already got an offer for somebody to buy the company and I haven't even fully launched it yet.
That's amazing.
We're going to exit in 18 months. The company, I formed a corporation with a friend of mine and then we canceled it in 2019 because it just wasn't the right fit for he and I both. It just wasn't a good fit. So we were we're still best, he's one of my best friends. We're just no, this isn't a fit for us. You're doing your construction thing. I'm doing my thing. We separated that. So I had this Lead Butler brand where we've been doing the LinkedIn, you and I connected because of LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. I never initiated that contact, conversation. I didn't do any of that. It was all done. Yeah. It was all done by my team. So that has been a powerful tool, but it's been mainly focused on LinkedIn, lead generation, review generation, and call tracking. And so now we're rolling all of that into one, along with the CRM and a bunch of other stuff. And then AI was incorporated into all of it. We have an AI system that's literally embedded into the whole thing. So we're rolling that all into one package deal. We're going to sell that for $2,000 a month to one specific niche vertical. And I already have 5 clients from, I don't want to say their exact names, but MLB, the golf, whatever the golf, I don't even know what the golf league is. I can't remember it off the top of my head. PGA. Yeah. So MLB, PGA, some of the biggest brands in the world, Microsoft, these are the companies that are coming on board to our system already. I already got commitments and I already got people cool, let me know we're ready now. So brag.com. So I got some really, really big ones that are already on board and ready to sign. So my goal is to bring all these clients on board, do 5 to 10 million in revenue revenue this year, and then another, 7 to 10 million the following year, then exit. And from that point forward, it's full-time content creator and speaker and consultant, and I'll do nothing except for create content. And the agency, I'll sold Lead Butler, but the agency will still just run and do its thing.
Well, you won't have to worry. I mean, because I think that's something that you said earlier, like there's certain pivotal points in any business. And I think that learning to stack your skills is great, because you can get to a point in business where you've heard of integrator, you know what visionaries are, you know all that stuff. There's a point in the business where valley of death periods, and that, as you've talked about, it's, I need to start bringing on this person. But the beauty of being a branding, marketing agency is painter can paint his own house, so you do have the ability to go back and say, hey, you know what? Like, I can leverage my team now while we're during this off time and maybe build this additional product or service that's not related to the business or the service we're doing, and then possibly sell it, and or decide, hey, I just want to be full-time in this and move away. So just so, everyone that's watching this station knows, is that's kind of the whole purpose of building your purpose, right? Is what does success look like to you? What are the things you want to do? And know that, especially if you're still in college or you're just starting out, that it's not set in stone.
It's and, not or. I got to do this or that.
My thing was alcohol back in the day. And so I always had a mentality of, and I've been sober now for about 12 years now. And my thing was, I agree with you 100%. Like, counsel, there's nothing wrong with a counselor. There's nothing wrong with a therapist. Everyone has things that they have to work through no matter what stage you're at in business. And so I give you real kudos on being able to tell us your story, man. And with that new business you're doing now, what are you really going to do? What do you see your purpose being when it comes to the growing of your agency past selling Lead Butler?
So the agency, what I always set out for it to be, wasn't just like some multi-million-dollar business, was to be a marketing machine for any business that I wanted. I'm a campaigner personality. I got the ENFP-A or whatever, the campaigner. So I always have a new idea, a new vision, a new dream. I own a company called NorCal Enduro because I'm into motocross, right? So I got all these different things, but when I exit and I have the revenues to not just continue to keep the agency sustaining and we'll take on clients that we want to take on, right? Not that we need to take on, but only the ones that we want, that we truly believe are going to be successful. Because a lot of people take on clients because they need the money or situations like that. And even if they don't need the money, that they just think, well, it sounds like a good idea, but good is the enemy of great. You have to really, truly believe that this business has the potential to be successful. Like, beyond like, I think it could be successful. No, you need to know without a shadow of a doubt that this is going to be successful. It needs to be proven, right? Just like I do with my marketing strategy, my brand strategy, those processes are proven. And so when I have all of that time that I'm able to buy back, because that's all the money does, it allows you to buy back your time. When I'm able to buy back all that time, I'm going to spend the majority of my time doing three things. One, spending time, as much time watching my daughter grow up, because I only get 18 summers with her as a kid, right? Spending as much time with my wife, helping her build her dream, Crunchy Cottage, which is a plant-based wellness company.
Oh, perfect.
And then
Beautiful.
being able to spend as much time with youth as I possibly can, teaching, equipping. My goal is to buy 1 million computers with my training, my education, and my software on them, so that they can go out self-taught and go learn graphic design, video editing, whatever, and learn all the different skills that I've stacked and be able to create all this education along with the computer and give out 1 million computers, at least in the US, if not worldwide. I would want to go even bigger than that number worldwide, but at least 1 million computers in the US to at-risk youth. That's one of my missions, is give them the fishing rod and teach them how to fish.
That was a beautiful purpose. I love that purpose. I'm not going to steal that, but I love that. I love that purpose. I might use it as mine. I'm heading out here in about 2 hours to have a Zen day myself, to kind of go through some stuff. I love having you on, man. I think this was a great conversation. I appreciate you being on. And like we said earlier before the podcast, great leaders, great people want to see other people succeed. And so when I see those computers going out to those kids and I see one of those on a desk, it will be very heartful for me. And I'll be like, he did it. He did it. So,
and who knows, maybe it happens after I'm gone too. I really don't care. It's going to happen. There's no if, it's just when at this point. So I'm grateful to have the platform to share that, because somebody might get to hear it and be like, I want to help with that, right? That may be something that you're like, dude, let's do that, right? So I'm just grateful to have the platform to be able to share that, to be able to speak that mission and that purpose and share my heart like that. So it's been really fun. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a great talk today. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to keep communicating over your community. I look forward to seeing how Lead Butler works and the success of that. And if you want to end up by telling everyone a little bit about where they can find you.
Just check me out on YouTube, Adrian, Adran Boysell, Boysel. Same thing on Instagram, same thing on Twitter. Actually, I think Twitter, I'm Mr. Boycell. That's kind of one of my mentors taught me. Always remember, you're Mr. Boycell. It was like a big confidence builder when I was selling cars and selling phones. He told me that. So at Mr. Boycell is my handle on Twitter, and I'm everywhere. Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. I mean, just search my name. You'll find me. And I got a lot of podcast episodes too that you can find out there, where I share some other stuff too around plant medicine and some other neat stuff. So if you want to learn more about that, yeah, just look me up on Google. Google my name.
Beautiful. Well, again, thanks for being on.
Thank you, brother.